Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fandalorian Club, our Star Wars review show here on Apocaflix Movies. I am your host, Jake Berlin, and I am joined by the regular table members, Mr. Brian Avellino and Jacob Bartley, and we are here to talk about Episode 9 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, the final season, Old Friends Not Forgotten, a quite of an epic episode we have to discuss here today. But before we get into that, how are you gentlemen doing?
I'm all right. I'm starting to go crazy, but this episode helped with that.
Yeah, how's the quarantine life over there, Mr. Bartley?
It's so weird. It's become the new normal. It's hard. Like, this is what life is now, for now. So we'll see. But it's all right.
Just bored, but this definitely started the day off right, and I don't even want to waste any more time.
Did you guys watch the episode before I messaged you or after I messaged you?
After.
Well, yeah, I was asleep when you wrote that, so definitely afterwards.
I had just woken up, and that was literally the first thing I saw on my phone, and I went, oh crap, it's out. I've completely, when I woke up, was still not even registering and was, oh my God, it's out. TV.
All right, well, like you said, let's not waste any more time. Holy shit, do we have an episode to talk about today? My goodness. Let's just start. We do this all the time. This is the way the show works. We kind of go into our initial reactions, just one or two quick sentences before we go into a full spoiler breakdown. I'll just say this, by far the best episode of the season. It's too early to say because there's been so many of them, but it is 1000% in the conversation for best episode of the series so far. But like I said, too early to say that. A lot of stuff to unpack. A lot of things happened. It went very quick. What did you guys think initial reaction wise?
That wasn't an episode. That was a mini movie. That was insane. Absolutely insane. From the second it started to end.
It was all right.
You're such a liar.
Yeah, you're bull.
You're such a liar.
There's no way.
Oh my goodness. Obi-Wan Kenobi slices a missile in half. It's one of the best things I've ever seen in Clone Wars. In Clone Wars.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, look, let's get right into it. So, first of all, before we get into actually any footage of the episode, it goes back decades, and it starts off in a way that brings nostalgia and emotion to you with the old school Lucasfilm logo, right? It's all grainy. It has this old green tint to it, and then it kicks in, not with the Clone Wars theme, but the original Star Wars
that
theme,
was crazy.
which gives it a whole different feeling compared to anything else in Clone Wars. It's the only time in the series that has only ever happened, making us realize, look, these are the final 4 episodes, but they're going for something much more on an epic scale, and it's going to be considered a Star Wars film type of atmosphere. And it's before we even saw any footage, that's the feeling we were getting.
Well, like Brian said, it's like a mini. Well, I think they're treating this 4-episode arc like a mini movie.
Yes,
yep.
And I was so confused at first when that started. I was like, "What's?"
Me
I was
too.
Like, did I accidentally start one of the movies, and I was like, "What?"
I did.
And then
Paused mine.
They did it so well, and I thought they were going to do a crawl for a second, but they didn't, which was cool because the crawls are only for the episodic movies, which is fine. But in a way, you could technically, I'm assuming you could not watch the first 8 episodes of this season and then just watch these 4 episodes in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and treat them as a part of the movie story, which that's what I'm assuming they're going for.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then we also have the red logo as well, bringing it back, which we rarely see in Star Wars.
Well, that was in Sith, right?
They did it for Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
They did it for Return of the Jedi before they remarketed it.
That's true.
And then they also did it in
Last
one
Jedi.
or 2 arcs for the Clone Wars before. They have done it before.
Oh, okay.
It might have been the Mortis storyline or something like that, but I remember them doing it beforehand.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's go and unpack the opening scene in this. And we start off, it's funny because we start off this episode almost identical to how we start off the Clone Wars movie. And I don't know if you guys remember how that movie started, but they started on a bridge, right? They were saving a city. It was a city that wasn't really something we had known in Star Wars, wasn't really important to the canon of Star Wars as far as what we know of. But the roles were kind of flipped, right? Obi-Wan did the talking that time around, and this time we see Obi-Wan and Cody in a little bit of trouble, and they're wondering where Anakin is. Anakin pops up, this cocky kid, and look, we've seen Anakin in multiple versions beforehand. This is the perfect type of Anakin Skywalker that has ever been put on screen.
Agreed.
The way he was talking, and there was a shot that fired, he just does this. Like, just randomly out of nowhere. He's such a cocky young kid, and he's like, "Oh, I'll do what I got to do." And all this stuff starts happening, and then the plan, obviously, of him getting surrendered and getting the tactical droid and using the Force and Rex being underneath, like everything about the sequence was just brilliant, in my opinion.
Yes, honestly, the opening of the the opening of the show, the episode is my favorite part of the episode. To be honest, the bridge battle is my favorite part of the episode.
That's because Obi-Wan was there.
No, it's mostly because he sliced him like a tank missile in half. But it's not just because of him. It's everything. Everything involved in that battle was awesome. Like, just I couldn't believe what I was watching when I was watching it. They straight up, they were like, "Look, we're gonna give you some pretty good episodes until episode 9, and here you go." And they just completely they knocked it out of the park right from the beginning of the episode. And just as far as just a war movie scene or just a war scene, it's incredible. And then you add there's humor involved, the tactical part of all of the stormtroopers being under the bridge was awesome. And I loved when Anakin pulled the general droid towards him and cut off his head. It was dope.
The one thing I didn't mention is the highlighted relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan. They're back and forth. We've talked about it multiple times before, but it's done so well in this series.
It is, especially this episode. Yeah,
I agree. This is as Anakin as you can ever picture him. So full of himself. Obi-Wan being the like Nerval Nancy that he is, cautious, and then Anakin just being like, relax, like this isn't even that difficult, and just goes out there like it's not even a problem, does this thing and just ends it. Like it's exactly how I remember Anakin, just, and how he just has this flair of just like, yeah, whatever. It's not. I'm the chosen one. I've got this. It's not that big of a deal.
Also, the addition of R2, who we have not seen a lot of over the last number of years. Just a quick little cool addition with the eye pop, and then he goes down and tells Rex. But this leads to something much bigger. Obviously, they're in the height of the battle. The clones are clearly taking over the droids, and but then they get a call, and they get a call about someone calling in about Fulcrum. And at this point in time, Fulcrum is Saw Gerrera. And that's who they think that Fulcrum is. But it's not Fulcrum. It's none other than Ahsoka. And we get that famous scene from the trailer that we saw over a year ago at Star Wars Celebration of Ahsoka turning around and him and Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan seeing each other for the first time, and that kind of emotional experience there. Even though we've seen it before, it still hits you hard seeing that moment for the first time.
Yeah, that it's. Oh, I can't believe you're right. That was Celebration last year. That didn't feel that long ago. Yeah, in his Anakin's dumbfounded look when she turns around. I like that she still refers to him as master, even though she's out of there and stuff.
Jacob,
yeah, it was great because we knew the context of it. Now in the trailer, you don't know what's going on or what the meaning of it is, and we talked about it all throughout the season. When are we going to see that? And it was nice. Like I'm really, Ahsoka is being very giving Anakin the cold shoulder for most of this episode, and it starts with this, and it's kind of tragic in a way because Anakin, we know this is right before Revenge of the Sith, and Anakin is, even though he's still a good guy, Anakin, he's not mentally stable, and so he needs that affection from Ahsoka, and she's just like, nope, and she's not giving it to him until later on in the episode. So I thought it was really unique or really surprising when they showed how cold Ahsoka was being towards Anakin.
Do you think it was more so of a cold shoulder or her just wanting to get to the point?
I think she's bitter towards the Jedi Order in general and towards Anakin. Fair. And so it's that, and it was more, let's just get down to business. And I also think Bo-Katan being there influenced her behavior. It wasn't. I think if Ahsoka was by herself, she would have acted a little bit differently. You see how only about business Bo-Katan is. So I think she was standing right behind her too. So
fair. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, I was gonna say I took it more as she was still hurt and didn't want.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was like opening up a wound, kind of, to see him, and like she didn't want to convey her like sadness that he was there and that was someone she cared about, and so she was like almost kind of being guarded in a way.
This will lead into a conversation we have in a little bit, obviously. So this scene leads to Ahsoka and Bo-Katan officially showing up on the cruiser, and we have this great moment between Ahsoka and R2 when he sees her. He gets all wobbly like he typically does and rolls up to her, and she puts his hand on him. But then they officially see each other, and it's kind of funny. You talk about how she's being cold. This is probably one of the moments where you recognize that when she puts her hand up. Yeah. And she stops him from talking. Is like, we don't have time for this, basically. Like, we need to get down to business. And they kind of have this conversation, and Bo-Katan walks up and says, we essentially need to talk. And Obi-Wan's like, we understand. We'll go have a conversation. And this is when they're essentially around like the battle room section, and they're having this conversation. And Obi-Wan is essentially putting the foot down, like, look, we're already in a war. Like, we can't do this already. And Bo-Katan has that great line of what's one more? What's more war? Like, and we know at this point as fans that the Jedi aren't supposed to be doing this, right? They're not supposed to be in this war. They've broken all the laws and rules that they have as a group to become part of this war. And it's a huge theme in this episode, and I imagine in the episodes that follow, if we see them, that is, that they're not supposed to be there. And so she's just like, I mean, what's one more to you guys? Like, you're already doing what you're not supposed to be doing. And so, I mean, what did you guys think about that whole sequence there in front of that battle room?
I thought Obi-Wan was kind of being cold to her, like almost kind of like, I don't know. I kind of felt like he was almost kind of like, I know this is gonna piss Jacob off, but acting kind of like a dick. He was kind of almost like it almost kind of felt like he was like kind of purposely being an ass. I understand and how he was doing it and why he was doing it, because I mean, obviously that's what they would do, go talk to the Jedi Council and stuff. But like, he seemed very like cold to her. That's kind of the feeling I got. Like, and then Bo-Katan just throwing like, I forget what she said, something along the lines of like,
it's her sister.
You cared about them, but if it was my sister or something like that. And that kind of like gut punched him. And then he was like, nope, I'm still going to do it this way.
That's interesting, because I took it. I mean, I understand that maybe he was coming off a little cold, but I took it as, you know, Obi-Wan has always been the one Jedi that we've seen throughout Star Wars history that has always stuck to the rules. That is always, he's been pure to the Jedi Order and the Jedi way that he was brought up on. And that's how I took it. He was just sticking to what he knew. And he said that, you know, the Jedi Council will decide the fate of it, essentially. Like, I'm sorry that this is happening, but we can't do this. They'll decide what's going to happen. And so that's kind of how I took it personally.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Obi-Wan is always like this. He's very rarely ever deviated from that. And he's always the one putting his foot down, saying we have to follow the rules, we have to go to the Jedi Council. Even he would argue with Qui-Gon and Phantom Menace, say, why aren't we following the rules? And because Qui-Gon was always going against what they would say. The thing is, for me, I think it was tough for Obi-Wan, and it's hard to tell with an animated character, but they kind of were saying that he's struggling. Look how personal this is for him. With Darth Maul, who killed his master, who killed the only woman that he ever loved, And Obi-Wan is so strong-willed that he's not jumping at the first opportunity to go take down Maul. That's what Obi-Wan is all about. That's why there's this conflict between him and Anakin. Anakin would have, if Anakin was acting solely on his own, he would have jumped in there right away and went. But he has Obi-Wan there. They got this big war going on. So it made sense. And even though like I disagree with Obi-Wan sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, look, dude, you got to go do this right now. Like, it's the right thing to do. But he goes against the right thing to do sometimes to honor the Jedi Order, which is all corrupt anyway. So it's an interesting conflict.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch on. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Ahsoka even kind of like attack him at that point by being like her? She said something along the lines.
No, this comes in a scene in the hangar.
Oh, is it later?
Afterwards. Yeah. It'll be right after the scene that we talk about. So, this leads to Obi-Wan goes one way, Bo-Katan goes the other, and this leads to some great moments between Anakin and Ahsoka. What we've been waiting for is just them together, right? And Ahsoka, in Jacob's terms, seems to be opening up a little bit more here. He says, "Oh, I have a surprise for you," and for me personally, it's by far the most emotional I've gotten in this season so far. When those hangar doors open and he's saying clones are loyal, and you see Rex and his 501st Legion standing there with the painted Ahsoka helmets. And it's like just the emotions of the past start flooding through you. And they have that great meeting, and he calls her Commander, and she says, "You can't call me Commander." And he's like, "Okay, Commander." Like just the respect and loyalty we've had, or the respect and loyalty we've learned about these characters and these clones specifically through the series and the season more specifically, it's heightened even more in this episode. And then you get the conversation that we talked about. But what did you guys think about the reunion of Rex and Ahsoka and Anakin?
Go ahead, Brian. Oh, it was great. Look, other than other than Ahsoka being a little cold at first, I really enjoyed it. Especially, this is where she kind of starts to let the guard down a little bit. Well, a little in the war room at first, after Bo-Katan and Obi-Wan leave, she starts to let her guard down a little bit, and then especially in the hangar, because she keeps denying, like, "Hey, don't call me Commander. I'm not part of the Jedi Order anymore." And they just keep giving her all this respect. So it was a cool moment because Anakin and the clones that respect Ahsoka know that she was never guilty during that whole time Palpatine was trying to frame her. They never doubted her. As far as I can remember, Anakin always had her back during that time. He never believed that she was doing anything wrong. And same goes for Rex and some of the other clones. So it makes sense that even after she left the Order, they're all showing this mad respect to her. So it was a good moment for sure. And I don't think this episode made me think, like, I don't think we're gonna. I think that was the last time Anakin and Ahsoka are
going to talk. 100%.
And I don't think they're ever. Yeah. We're not going to see an action scene with them in the.
They'll never be back to that. That was their goodbye.
Because it almost didn't make sense that they saw each other again at all. So this has to be a limited interaction if they don't see each other again until Rebels or something.
It's perfect because, and we'll touch on it, but it's because Anakin essentially left a little bit of behind with her in her sabers. That's like the goodbye by changing them blue.
And I want to talk about the sabers a little bit. Can we get into it right now?
Brian, you go ahead. What about the reunion? Brian, you can touch on that before we get to that real quick.
Oh no, it hits you in your feels because there's obviously showing you the respect and loyalty that they all have for her, and especially the face paintings of the masks. And yeah, it was just an awesome scene in general.
And knowing where Ahsoka and Rex end up as well is also kind of like yes, they're back. And then they get separated again, and then they find each other later on down the road. But yeah, before we get to the saber sequence, this is the interaction between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka that we were talking about. And so Obi-Wan comes running in because we hear those legendary Star Wars sirens going on.
I just want to ask, this is the battle leading into Revenge of the Sith, right? Okay, just making sure.
So we hear those sirens that we hear throughout Star Wars all the time. Obi-Wan comes running in saying there's General Grievous is an attack on Coruscant, and it's the opening of Revenge of the Sith. And they're saying we have to go, we can get there in so-and-so in light speed. And Ahsoka thinks that it's happening for the Mandalorians, and Bo-Katan. So does Anakin. And Obi-Wan has to break the news that like, no, we can't. We're not doing this. And this is when that interaction comes. It's like Ahsoka says, so you're going to do this, but you're going to leave Bo-Katan and her people behind. You're making a political decision by going to save. You're not saving the people of Coruscant. You're saving the Chancellor. It's a political move, not a I guess the perfect way to say it is a humanitarian move. And look, I see Ahsoka's side on it, but I also see Obi-Wan's side on it. I see that's how good they developed this and made this, is that I see both sides of the conflict when when the conversation is going. And so, I mean, it's very interesting because that's the last conversation they may have ever had. But yeah, I think that it's going to be very interesting down the road when all this kind of plays out. Thoughts?
Wait, did you say that's the last conversation Obi-Wan and Ahsoka ever had? Like, you're saying not? Maybe? You're saying maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think it is. I think we'll see them talk again in the future.
Maybe,
but,
yeah.
No, I know. You're in canon, they don't talk again, as far as we know. But I love that because, I mean, again, it was Obi-Wan following the rules, but also this makes me hate Palpatine even more because it was a fake rescue. So I don't know what else was going on. Like, I mean, the war was fake anyway. Palpatine, created it, but also he wasn't really in danger. Dooku was his apprentice, and so he pulled them away from going to help with Mandalore and get Maul, which makes me hate him even more as a character. So I just, but yeah, it was actually a really good conversation because if you look at it, I love the way Anakin found loopholes to make sure that Ahsoka had troopers with her. That was really cool. And then she says, I accept as long as Obi-Wan agrees to it. So
the respect is always there.
Exactly. Even though she was arguing with him, she showed her respect to Obi-Wan. And you said this before, Jake. You said Anakin and Obi-Wan were kind of like both her bigger brothers and both her masters. They both kind of trained her and raised her in a way. So even though she's closer with Anakin, there's definitely that similar relationship with Obi-Wan.
Brian?
Yeah, that scene was kind of like messed with my brain because I was like, well, Ahsoka does make a really good point. Like, she's definitely making a point with what she's saying. But then again, like they said earlier, we're already in a war, and it's just, yeah, it was rough because I was just like, I could see Obi-Wan's point of it, but at the same time, I'm like, Ahsoka seems more realistic at this point. But to be honest, I kind of almost took, like, I understand the respect, but I also kind of felt like she gave a little sass to it. Kind of like,
oh, she definitely did.
Yeah, like,
well, and you also
Obi-Wan can agree with it.
You also got to keep in mind that what she just came after, she said in that conversation, she said, people have lost faith in you guys. I did too, until I realized what the Jedi Order meant to others. And then they're pulling this kind of move again, that she's losing faith again. And so again, that's why we see her point in this, because she's gone through so much personally, and she's the only person to ever walk away from the Order. And then she went into the galaxy and saw what people really think of the Jedi. And then they're kind of doing this move again to just at the hand of Palpatine, rather than standing what they're supposed to stand for.
Agreed.
Any other thoughts on that?
No, it was, I really enjoyed that moment for sure.
Let's go ahead and get to the sabers, because the sabers is a big moment here. And I think that
he gives her the box before Obi-Wan walks in, and she doesn't open it yet. And then after Obi-Wan leaves, she opens the box. Yeah.
And we all know what it is. And I think, Jacob, you might have wanted to say something that I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I'm wondering, so she loses these somehow, is what I'm wondering. Because,
well, no, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were taken from her.
I thought she handed them over.
Okay, so at the end of her arc in Clone Wars, she gives them to Anakin.
Yes.
But we thought that was the last time she had them until her novel. Like, in between her novel and Clone Wars, previous seasons, we thought that was the last time she had them, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So she gets them again from Anakin. And you said the color was changed?
Yeah, they're blue.
So they're green in the series.
Okay. I was wondering what color they were before. Yeah.
But here's the kicker, because this is an unexplained thing at the moment, because we have 3 episodes left. But at the moment, they're green in the beginning of her novel. But her sabers,
Does
her
she
sabers are
I don't
green.
think she even has any though.
Yeah, her sabers are green in the beginning of her novel, and so where's the change from blue to green again? So why are they blue now, and when does it change, or if does it ever change?
Yeah, so I can't recall, but in the novel, doesn't she take the sabers from the Inquisitor and then changes them from red to white?
At the end, but she gets rid of hers
Oh, okay.
officially.
So she
Officially,
has hers at first in the beginning.
yes,
You're
Oh, okay.
100% on that they were green?
yes,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, so yeah. Oh, so these are them then. So she has them from now until the novel, and then gets
yes.
rid of them. So as far as we know, look, we know the crystal. I don't know how it works with green and blue, but we know the crystal bleeds to like the will of the Force user or whatever. So maybe Anakin's always bleed blue, and then that's why they turned blue while they were with him. And then when she takes them over time, they bleed green.
Well, it's funny
don't know.
because I've been binging the comics hard right now, and I literally just reread the Darth Vader comic where he bleeds the lightsaber red, that his own, and Palpatine makes it very abundantly clear that those crystals are alive and they go off of emotion. So
Maybe that's what happens.
yeah, and
It's possible.
Because how
it's
did
possible.
Anakin change them blue in the first place?
Well, so that's what we don't know. But he made that
Yeah.
comment. They made that comment, or he made the comment of they're just like I fixed them, but they're better this time. When she
yeah,
lit
a
them up
little
and they were
better.
blue,
Yeah,
because she was expecting to see
said,
green. Yeah,
she said, what'd she say? They're different. And he goes, oh, I made them better. I improved them a little bit.
and I mean the sound and the look of them just looks great. She has that great smile on her face, obviously. And so it's just great to see her with sabers again. But then we move on to the big stuff here, and we can get it right into it because we're already at 30 minutes on the show.
Yeah.
This is the moment we've been waiting for, right? The season 7, the show was always supposed to end with the Siege of Mandalore, and we officially get to it here, and we see Rex and half of the 501st Legion with Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, and it's an all-out assault. It is exactly what you want. There's Mandalorians flying with jetpacks. There's Mandalorian ships. There's Jedi cruisers. There's, clone ships. I mean, there's everything you want in a siege and a war, and it did not disappoint in my opinion. It started off awesome. You see Gar Saxon and his crew and all the Mandalorians from Mandalore come up, and they're fighting in the air. And you have that great moment with Rex and Ahsoka's like, I'll race you to the bottom. And they're laughing and having fun. And I mean, what did you guys think about the opening of the siege inside the air or in the air?
Epic. Absolutely epic. I wish I could watch this whole thing and then see it like frame for frame, picture for picture, remade in real life, just to see how awesome it would look. Because but I'm sitting there, it felt like I was watching a real like live action.
We're not going to get that.
True.
Jacob,
I didn't.
They wouldn't
left me speechless.
They wouldn't re-show this same exact battle though. They would maybe show different parts of
from
it
different
going
point
on.
of view.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was freaking awesome. So thing is, so my brother is a big Star Wars fan, but he's more like I would say a higher level casual fan, like more than a casual fan, but not as geeky as us. But so he doesn't really. He's watched nerdy, whatever. He's watched some random episodes of Clone Wars, but not like never sat down and watched the whole season or anything. He maybe watched like 4 or 5 episodes before, like different random ones. I am making him watch this episode as soon as
you got to watch these 4. Make him watch these 4.
Exactly. So you don't even have to watch the first 8 to watch this episode. I'm just gonna make him watch this episode. Like, look how awesome this is, and he's gonna be like, wait, who's this girl? I'm like, that's Anakin's Padawan. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And then he's gonna see Obi-Wan at the beginning. He's gonna see Anakin, and he's gonna see Darth Maul. And I'm gonna tell him because he loves Revenge of the Sith. I'm gonna tell him like, look, this is them leaving to go into that battle that opens Revenge of the Sith. And
Jake, Jake, I can't even wait for you to tell him that tweet you posted earlier.
When you watch Revenge of the Sith now, you can think, wait, Anakin was just with Ahsoka right before this. So I'm so excited about this. And it's partially because of all those little details, but also because of this battle, the opening battle going into Mandalore, because that is incredible. Like, no matter who you are, that it is so awesome with all the Mandalorians coming in with the jetpacks, and then the stormtroopers and the other Mandalorians coming out of the ships. It is just handled so greatly, and I love when there's like shot down ships falling with Jedis floating on them, and yeah, I love that. So it was so great.
Before we get to inside the city on Mandalore, I have a little bit of a theory that I want to throw at you guys.
Here we go. Here's his.
So when Ahsoka officially jumps off the ship, right, and she's like, "I'll race you to the bottom," and we have that incredible action sequence of her with her sabers knocking Mandalorians and jumping everywhere and just doing her thing, right, just being a total badass. If you guys listen closely, there is a incredibly high resemblance of the music from the very beginning of Revenge of the Sith. I think that at that moment, that is when we see Anakin and Obi-Wan in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. The opening scene of Revenge of the Sith.
So
when they're in their
battle?
Jedi starfighters. Yes.
Wow.
I think it's mirroring each other. Like, she's on Mandalore doing that, and they're at Coruscant doing that, because they just left.
That
remember?
Is so cool.
And so if you listen, it's not the same. It's not the exact same, but it's a Clone Wars version of it. And there's beats that are almost identical. I rewatched the opening of Revenge of the Sith just to make sure. I do think that it's mirroring each other, and it's happening at the same exact time.
Well, yeah, it is. They left. That's what they left to go do.
Exactly.
And they probably hopped in those same battleships, right, that we see them in. And so that is just so cool that we're getting that time, because I always think about, like, we didn't even know who Ahsoka was when we first saw those movies. And maybe neither did they, but still now Ahsoka is a part of Anakin's story. And I love that, because we have to consider her when we consider everything that happened to him.
Brian, thoughts real quick? Yeah, just that whole opening was insane. And she never killed a Mandalorian. She always disabled their jetpacks.
Okay, but
too.
you're thousands of feet up, disabling their
oh yeah, they're dying.
Gonna blow
she doesn't
them
directly
they're gonna
kill
fall
them.
to their death.
She doesn't directly kill them.
Either way, she's not killing them.
She's killing. I don't care. Do your thing, girl. Do
Yeah,
your thing, girl.
But yeah, dude, that whole entire.
I will say this: our logo has never become more relevant. That's in this episode.
That's literally this episode. The second she touches down,
that scene was so.
And she's on Mandalore with Mandalorians, which is
It's so so the whole sequence obviously is awesome. You get a giant battle on the ground in the city. You get Garsax on there with his crew. Clearly, they're pawns of Maul, right? Garsaxon's got the sweet horns coming off his helmet.
I love the Maul Mandalorian helmets.
Yeah. Well, just know that. I mean, the whole outfits.
Yeah,
and the yellow tint to the
dude, the action in that ground battle on Mandalore is freaking incredible. The way, like, they bend down and shoot the missile off their back, and all that stuff is just so good.
So the main leader of the Mandalorians is the one with the horns, and then his right hand woman, Rook Kast, are the two that broke out Maul in The Son of Dathomir. They're the ones that rescued him from being held captive in The Son of Dathomir. I'm hoping to see that at some point, maybe like a flashback of what happened in physical form for those who don't know about it, because I think it would just add a little bit more to it.
Well, true, because other people are wondering, wait, didn't Palpatine capture him? Now how?
Exactly. So maybe in the next episode we get a tiny bit of a flashback, but for now, for us, having Garsax on there and Rook Kast is enough to kind of answer that question. So
yeah.
And let's just get to the final sequence here. We see Maul, right? There's just a bunch of action in between. We see Maul. We see Ahsoka go down with a crew of troopers, and they're walking right into a trap. Right, Maul is waiting there with Garsaxon and Rook Kast and the crew, and they surround them. They kill all the troopers, and they surround Ahsoka. And Maul has the great line of, he says, "You're not the one that I wanted to come," alluding to Obi-Wan. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And
he says, "I was hoping for Kenobi."
Or I was
yeah.
Well, he said, does he say Kenobi directly?
He does, yeah.
He does say Kenobi directly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was hoping for Kenobi, and they're just the long lost brothers who hate each other. And the episode ends, and it's a great ending. It's clearly a direction right into the second episode. But thoughts on the final moments there?
It's funny because the whole entire time I was like, this is going nuts. But then they made it very clear that this whole entire setup was Maul's plan. Everything was literally going as Maul planned it, minus the fact that it was Ahsoka and not Obi-Wan. And that to me was like, whoa, like Maul is just tactically like way
Strong.
more advanced than we think. What, Jacob?
Nothing. No, I'm just thinking about Palpatine messed up Maul's plans again.
Yeah.
He wanted Obi-Wan there. But is it just me or did I know like Darth Maul doesn't seem like he's gonna attack Ahsoka. Like he's like disappointed. He's like, damn it, I was ready to fight Obi-Wan. And he's like, what are you doing here? Like kind of like he's not going, his first reaction isn't going to be let's fight in a way.
Well, it obviously we know their relationship, right? They've interconnected with each other quite a bit before, but Maul has always been one to kind of use stuff to his advantage, and maybe he can use Ahsoka to his advantage.
That's what I took it as. Maybe he's going to try to lure out Obi-Wan, but at this point, we know.
And maybe he knows that he must know that she left the Jedi Order, and maybe he's like, let's see what I
or
can.
Or does he?
I don't think he does.
Well, it might be common knowledge. I mean, he was held
because
captive.
Bo-Katan and them are always like, oh, the Jedi.
But he was held captive by Palpatine, and he might have known what was going on, you know, because Palpatine was the one doing it. Not that Palpatine told him, but it might have been. It's a big deal when a Jedi leaves the Jedi Order, so I'm sure Maul heard about it.
I loved when he was walking down the tunnel and you heard clank, clank,
yeah.
And you're just like, oh, here he comes.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, the next episode is for sure going to stay on Mandalore for the majority of it, which is where we're going to see that Ahsoka Maul fight. But I think that they're going to leave after that. And so we're going to see Maul for the next couple episodes and for sure duke it out with Ahsoka next episode.
Oh, I remember one part that was, I'm surprised, Jacob, you didn't bring it up, was when, this is before, when Obi-Wan was walking away and he said, make sure you kill Maul. I've killed him once.
Yes, I've killed him once. He seems to never want to die.
Yeah, something like that.
I think he was saying, I've killed Maul before. He doesn't want to die, so make sure you capture him. I think that's what.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. He said,
yeah. So he's like, if you kill him, he's just going to come back. So make sure you capture him. That's basically
sense.
what it was saying. But yeah, that was like his last line before he left.
And those are the last moments between him and Ahsoka too, for all those characters.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought they were going to fight this episode because the thumbnail of the episode shows them fighting, which is completely misleading, but it doesn't matter. This episode didn't need it. It was so great. It had enough action. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I don't think Maul's going to jump up and attack her. I think they're going to talk first, and it's going to lead to a fight. So
I just can't wait to see that battle. My goodness. And the main reason why, I don't know if you guys know this, but they motion captured Maul for the season.
Oh my god.
Is it really?
Ray Park motion captured him.
Oh my goodness. No way.
They motion captured,
and it's obviously Sam Witwer doing the voice, right?
Doing the voice,
so
yeah.
It's basically what they did for Solo, but in animation form.
Exactly.
That is crazy. Awesome.
And we're gonna see that next episode.
So, do you guys? I mean, we'll talk about this more later, but if they're getting into, this is in Revenge of the Sith is happening right now.
Jacob,
how far are we going to get?
No, hold on.
Pause where you're at, Jacob.
I'll read it.
I'll read
Jacob,
it.
Pause where you're at.
I'm
not going to say it. No. I'm not going to say
it.
Jacob.
I think we're going to see Darth Vader.
I don't think we're going to see him.
Maybe. We talked about that before.
You might hear like the.
Okay, Jacob, do you want to hear some description or the quick descriptions of the next couple episodes?
Yes,
of the final two.
Sure, it's fine.
So this is episode 11. This isn't number 10. This is 11. After capturing Maul on Mandalore, Ahsoka's journey to the Jedi Council is disrupted when Order 66 is declared, turning her world upside down. Episode 12.
God.
Ahsoka and Rex must use their wit and skills to survive the turbulent end of the Clone Wars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that official?
That's official.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, yeah, more likely because that's like the end of Revenge of the Sith. So when Darth Vader comes when he turns into Darth Vader. But
I do think the final moments of the series will be with Vader and Palpatine. Possibly the very last moment of Revenge of the Sith where we see them constructing the Death Star.
yeah, possibly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we're going to see Vader out there in a full-on action scene. I just think we'll see a little bit of dialogue or story after he becomes Darth Vader. But that is amazing to see Ahsoka like alive during Order 66, like experience Order 66. That is going to be
one thing
incredible.
before we get out of here, because we do have to get there. We forgot to mention the opening recap that was going on when we saw Kanan Jarrus and we saw Plo Koon.
Oh yeah,
and all those in the quick snippets. We saw two familiar scenes with Plo Koon and Ayla, obviously of when they died in Revenge of the Sith.
Isn't that?
No, that's
no. You're right.
So obviously the moments when they died in Revenge of the Sith were kind of foreshadowed in the opening, but we saw the War Room scene when we saw Kanan Jarrus. He made his cameo.
No, baby Kanan.
Are you disappointed that Jacob? That was it?
No. That I knew that's all it was going to be. Yeah. So that was cool.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, any final thoughts on episode 9?
I don't know how it gets better than this, but we'll see.
I wish we could us three could just be together to watch this play out.
I think what we're gonna have to do is, we can try.
We should, because.
So here's the deal. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do the next two because of quarantine stuff and how we do now and everything. But it's official that the final episode is longer than normal, and it's premiering on May 4th, on Monday. On May the 4th be with you.
Oh wow!
So if there's a way we can get together that, or maybe watch it over this and just pop it on together or something, I think that'd be cool. Maybe record our reactions. I don't know.
I mean, even if we did it on here, like that would be awesome.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Man. Well, there it is. The Fandalorian Club for this week. Episode 9 of the Clone Wars Season 7. Old Friends Not Forgotten. Quite a bit to unpack, which is why we took so long on it. And so if you join us for the whole thing, we really, really appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out all of our previous episodes covering everything in the Clone Wars, as well as the ones coming up, because there is quite a bit going on, and we are very excited for it. So for Jacob Hartley, Mr. Brian Avellino, and myself, we thank you guys for joining us on the Fandalorian Club. You can find the show on YouTube, as well as on podcast platform on Anchor, Apple, and Spotify. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram, and give us a like, share, and comment, guys. We'd love to hear from you. So again, thank you for joining us, and may the Force be with you.